Hey guys, it's Danny. Welcome to what could potentially be the last Orchids in Bloom episode in this format anyway. I'm not entirely sure if I will have the time with the move and everything this month to actually film the orchids that are in bloom. So we might actually skip a month. I'm not sure when the series is going to return. Hopefully in September, maybe for an extra long video. I don't know, really. But it is safe to say that this is potentially the last Orchids in Bloom in this format because I'm finally moving. Finally, hopefully. Who knows what can come up now, but the list is considerably shorter than it used to be. Anyway, so let's enjoy some of the orchids that I had in bloom this month because some I just didn't film, I just didn't catch. But anyway, I think these are the prettiest ones. And before we start, don't forget to give this video a like if you end up enjoying it and you actually do enjoy the series. You're one of the hardcore fans. And hey, why not subscribe? I post multiple times a week and it's completely free. But if you're feeling a little extra and you can and you wish to further support the channel, you can do so by either becoming a member and having access to some behind the scenes and exclusive videos, or you can use the affiliate links that I always have in the description of my videos. You can also get some merch. We currently have some beautiful mugs and also a orchid puzzle that I'm really proud of. And if all else fails, there's always the super thanks option. Alrighty, so with that said, let us start. Spoilers, we have a lot of Cattleyas. I think I have a lot of Cattleyas in my collection. I think I need to stop and get some Oncidiums or Dendrobiums. When I resume my orchid hauls, yeah, I think I need to pipe down on the Cattleyas. What do you guys think? But we'll start with one of the most beautiful Cattleyas that I own, in my opinion, and this has been gifted to me by a wonderful viewer about 8 years ago, to be fully honest, 7 or 8 years ago. If you're still watching, please give me a comment. And just so you know, I'm forever thankful because I've never seen this one for sale ever since you sent it to me. This is the Loddisong Summer Beauty. You're gonna have the tag on the screen, and it is one of the most beautiful lavender colored orchids that I have. And if the color is not beautiful enough, then look at that lip and at the contrast that it makes with the flower. Just so you know, with Cattleyas, it is not as common to have a whitish lip. It's not pure white, but you can see it's much lighter than the actual orchid. It's not a very common trait. Usually the lip is more showy, more colorful, or darker. With the miracle of hybridization, you can get anomalies, quote unquote, like these that look absolutely superb. This is a very, very vigorous orchid now, but in the beginning when I received it and I put it through all sorts of experiments, I severely set it back. So it started to bloom only in the past 3 years or so, this beautiful. Now, the orchid herself, as beautiful as she is, she doesn't have much of a fragrance, and that is absolutely okay. I think some of you guys will rejoice because I know many of you have scent sensitivities. If you stick your nose into the flower, you can detect something, maybe something floral like lilies or something, but it's just so incredibly faint that if you sit next to the orchid, I don't think you're gonna detect anything. At least mine has never released any noticeable fragrance, to be fully honest. One more aspect of the flower that I really like is how flat it is. Sometimes Cattleyas do have a tendency to have a bit of a closed flower, especially the splash ones, which are actually pyloric. Now, they're pretty, but when you have a very pulled back aspect to the petals, you can actually see the flower in its full glory. So I personally prefer these types of flowers, but not everybody actually has these flat flowers. So I really appreciate this aspect along with all of the other qualities of this orchid. Next up, I was saying something about Oncidiums, right? Well, here's the first Oncidium hybrid and the only one for this month. I'm not sure what it is. It's a NoID Aliceara type. It looks like an Aliceara, which is a complex hybrid between Miltonias, Oncidiums, and other stuff. I found it locally. I think I purchased it last year, and it has been doing pretty okay. I will have to say my environment, and especially this year when I try to cut back on consuming electricity and like spending so much money, my orchid room went from either very cold to either very warm. I mean, I have 32 degrees Celsius on a regular basis in my grow room because I just simply cannot afford the AC. So the Oncidiums have suffered, so they're not the greatest for this particular environment. My climate doesn't help me either. It's very hot. The Cattleyas love it, the Oncidiums not so much. I'm hoping when I move to the other room, which will be much more optimized. I'm gonna have renewable electricity in that house. You know, I'm not gonna spend so much money on these resources. I'm hoping that I can start again with more temperate type of orchids. In recent times, I just chose not to bother anymore because I knew I just couldn't offer them ideal conditions, and I had to just cut back on some stuff. But just so you know, Oncidiums were my first ever love, and the family of orchids upon which this channel has been built, I used to purchase very, very discounted, very sick, almost dead Oncidiums, and I would save them and I would film and show everybody, you know, my results and how I would go about it. This was 11 years ago, so that's how my channel grew, actually, by saving Oncidium orchids. The difference was I was in Romania, not in Cyprus, and Romania has a temperate climate, so I wasn't suffering as much with the heat. So I was doing much better than with the Oncidiums, but who knows, maybe in my new environment I will do good again as well. But just so you know, that's why I don't have too many Oncidiums anymore. It was just a hassle to maintain them. And that's why I have a lot of Cattleyas. And speaking about Cattleyas, let's look at another incredible beauty. This is a first time bloomer. I purchased this one last year. This is BLC Durigan Poseidon. Now, I'll be honest, there are quite a few varieties of the Durigan and they all seem similar but a little bit different. The Poseidon, I remember in the listing, did not look necessarily like this, so don't mind the varieties all that much. The Poseidon is a spotted Cattleya, but exactly what you're gonna get, I'm not entirely sure, because these have been most likely obtained through seeds, so they will be slightly different in between them. Nevertheless, if you're a fan of the very spotted Cattleyas, this one is so vigorous and such a beautiful orchid. Bonus, it is also fragrant and pretty noticeable, pretty powerful as well. To me, it smells floral, a little like lilies, very typical Cattleya scent, but it has an undertone of spiciness, and I don't mean pepperiness. This will sound bad, but I swear is what I detected. You know how dry salami smells? If you're from Romania, salam de Sibiu, yeah, that's the undertone of it. So I have to think that it's not there and ignore it and feel the other notes, which are floral. But it's not bad. It's not that bad. I think, though, that some of you will not necessarily enjoy the fragrance of this one because that underlayer of like salami scent, it's there. But anyway, if this sounds interesting to you, why not? Why not? She's a beautiful, beautiful orchid. She looks wild and she's very, very vigorous. I mean, I purchased it last year and now it's blooming. No issues, no setback. Very beautiful orchid. And speaking about incredibly beautiful orchids, now this is one to my liking a lot. This is BLC Shiniti Ishikawa Alegro. Now, this one again doesn't necessarily look identical to the listing, but it looks absolutely fantastic. This is the first time blooming for her as well. I got it as a younger orchid and I only have one flower, but I'm pretty sure in the future this orchid can create 2 or 3 flowers per inflorescence. The flower is a little tinier than the Durigan. I should measure them from now on. It's a little too late now, but yeah, in my future videos, I'll give you some references. Anyway, what you should know about this orchid is that it is a pyloric Cattleya. It's what we call a splash petal. You can see the lip and the petals look very similar, right? Well, it's pyloric, and it is also mildly fragrant of mothballs, which again is not an uncommon scent for some Cattleyas. So with this one, you don't buy it for the fragrance, you buy it for how beautiful it looks. Unless you like mothballs. I mean, why not? It's the scent of childhood to me, but I cannot say I enjoy it much, to be fully honest. I never enjoyed the scent of mothballs, but my grandma used to use it, and I'm sure many of your grandmas used to use it as well. Naftalina, it was called in Romania. Don't worry though, the scent is not very strong. Again, you have to stick your nose into the flower to detect it, but yeah, I think the looks compensate for the lack of incredible fragrance. Typically, when you want a very beautiful floral rosy scent, you go for the fluffy flowered Cattleyas. These guys, the very spotted ones, you know, they're more obscure, I guess, when it comes to fragrance. Not as beautiful and showy as the fluffy ones, but they're also more vigorous, they grow faster, they have multiple growths per year, so there are some pros with these orchids. Fragrance is not always one of the pros. But let's go ahead and look at something that actually smells incredibly nice. This is Dendrobium parishii, and this one smells like raspberries. It's not really one-to-one, but yeah, I can see how this one smells like raspberries. Now, this is an orchid that I've had for quite a lot of years, a lot of time. It's one of my favorite Dendrobiums. I have the anosmum as well, but it's a repurchase, so I'm waiting for it to mature. These are very iconic Dendrobiums to have. They are deciduous, meaning they lose their leaves every year during winter. They need a bit of a rest in the winter time, which implies not so much watering, if at all, lower temperatures, and since I didn't really heat up the greenhouse much this winter, you know, it got the chill of its life, and it really enjoyed it, to be honest. And even though I didn't catch it in its full glory, you can see some of the flowers are on their way out. Just so you know, it's a very iconic Dendrobium. It stays relatively small and compact in comparison to the anosmum, let's say, which can grow pretty long. So if you don't have a lot of space, if you're a windowsill grower, I would go for the parishii rather than the anosmum. But you will see these two Dendrobiums, parishii and anosmum, they tend to be staples in orchid collections. So the difference in between them, of course, is the flower. It looks slightly different, but the flowers are very similar. Fragrance, in my opinion, is identical, but the size of the parishii is smaller. So I personally enjoyed this one a little bit more. Next up, here we have the one and only, the Chantilly Lace Twinkle. And this year we have a wonderful inflorescence, if I do say so myself. Well, this time we didn't have so many issues with either thrips, not even with mealybugs, and everything looks great. Now, this orchid will need a repot very, very soon, but it has such a fast growth that it's hard to time the moment properly because we have blooms and maybe even an immature pseudobulb and roots growing all at the same time. And many of the times I just want to see the flowers. So I keep postponing repotting of this orchid due to her fast growth. So from this point of view, she's a very vigorous orchid for me, grows very fast, multiple growths per year, multiple blooms per year, blooms on every single growth. And what can I say about the flowers? They are absolutely magical and spectacular. This is a pyloric orchid. I think we can see the lip looks very similar to the petals, and it adds to its whimsical appearance. Those little tiny dots are just so beautiful. Bonus, it is highly, highly fragrant, and it reminds me a lot of the NoID white Cattleya that we called Princess Jackie. It does have an almost identical fragrance, kind of orangey-like, kind of creamy at the same time. This one is not as creamy, I would say, as the Cattleya, but it's very, very close, and it's quite powerful. So if you ever wondered how the Princess Jackie smells like, the Chantilly Lace Twinkle will give you the answer, and I think it's absolutely magical. Bonus, this is not a very tall orchid. She does produce quite the number of leaves, and it has quite a large leaf span, but overall it is a medium-sized orchid. It's not gonna become bushy and unmanageable very, very soon. So if you like fragrant orchids and you do well with Cattleyas generally, and you want something that I consider special, do look into this one. It is one of my absolute favorites, and it's such a joy to have and to grow because it's just not finicky. It just isn't. It doesn't even require very, very bright light. Nothing like one of those floofy Cattleyas. Highly recommend this orchid. I think many of you already have it, and many of you tell me you really, really like it, and I'm just so happy. So let me know in the comments. How do you feel about this orchid? Do you like the fragrance? Do you like it? Did you buy it because I recommended it? And if you're happy with your purchase, I'm very curious. I'm very happy with this one. Extremely happy. It's a staple in my collection. Next up, here we have the beautiful Perreiraara Tony Tang Keng Yam. Now this is a Bangkok Sunset cross with Vanda Wheelas or something like that. And I'm showing you firstly the lovely little insect that I found on it. It's a praying mantis. There are a few ants on it as well. It's residing outside this Vanda. So I'm really happy that I have a praying mantis baby on it because it's hunting the ants. Now this orchid, we've talked about it this month. It has spent quite a bit of time without a tag because the original tag bleached, and I was on a spree of purchasing Bangkok Sunset hybrids at some point, and I forgot what hybrids I got until I remembered. If you dig deep enough in the brain, sometimes you remember. Now this one, in my opinion, is not as fragrant as the Bangkok Sunset. It has a little bit of that beautiful fresh florally scent to it, but especially mine living outside, being a little bit on the dehydrated side sometimes, it doesn't release much of a fragrance. It's just reminding a little bit of the Bangkok sunset. However, the coloration is really, really beautiful. It has a more corally color to it, and of course, in contrast with that beautiful purple lip, it is really, really pretty. It's one of those vandas that tends to stay smaller, so if you don't have a lot of space, this might be a good vanda for you. It also can do well with lower light intensity than a typical big vanda, and also she does great potted. It doesn't have like such an extensive root system as some of the bigger vandas. Overall, it's more on the mini side, let's say, but this one too, in time, can grow pretty large. It's just going to take a lot of years until it becomes unmanageable, if it does. I don't think it will become that way anytime soon though, and the flowers are very pretty. Next up, this is an orchid that I purchased last year. This is a Brassocattleya hybrid. It's a hybrid between Cattleya araguaiensis crossed with Brassavola cucullata. I don't think it has a registered name yet. I didn't find one, and the tag didn't specify one. So if you know anything, do let me know. But for all intents and purposes, this one looks like a purple cucullata, and I adore it. It is also very vigorous. I'm kind of surprised to see. I don't know why I was expecting this one to be less vigorous than the cucullata, but it is quite vigorous. This month, it also had a bud which was trapped in one of the pseudobulbs, so I had to do an extraction. You can see it in the back. It's a little crooked, that bud, but I managed to save it. That is the result, again, of hydration. Sometimes, if I don't water in time, this can happen, but it's okay if you're careful to extract the bud from the pseudobulb. It should be absolutely fine. This is a good candidate for a specimen because it doesn't really take much space, it grows pretty fast, and if I do some divisions, and P.S. we're going to talk about specimens really soon in a video, so this, you know, if I do a few divisions and have a few more leads on it, I think it will be a beautiful specimen. In 1 year, it grew very, very well. Not really doubled the size, but considerably improved the size ever since I purchased it. Very beautiful plant. Minus, doesn't really have a fragrance at night. Doesn't smell as nice as the cucullata, if at all. Sometimes it doesn't smell at all for me. Maybe it's an environment thing, I'm not sure. But yeah, this one is a purple cucullata minus the fragrance. And speaking about little oddities, this is Phalaenopsis Jiaho Summer Love Whale. This is beautiful. I think we can all agree. However, you should know this particular hybrid is just not vigorous. It took me 4 years. I found the original video. It took me 4 years to bring this from a tiny keiki that I saved from a dying mother plant. Why was she dying? I don't know. She just died. So from that to this, 4 years, and it's a Phalaenopsis. Something's off. And I also asked you if you have the same experience with yours, and believe me when I tell you, not one of you replied saying, yes, I have this one and it's growing like a weed, like any Phalaenopsis. No, all of you guys said, oh, mine is finicky as well. One of you guys even lost it, and overall, you just said that it's just not as vigorous as a Phalaenopsis should be. It doesn't even bloom every year or all the time. So I will put it down to, yes, this hybrid is potentially finicky. Is it worth it? I mean, it's one of my favorite flowers, to be fully honest. There is a bit of a fragrance, reminds me a little bit of the Bellina. It's a little fruity, but it's not strong, and you can detect it if you stick your nose into the flower. Overall, it's wonderful, it's beautiful, and I really like this compact flowering, but it's not normal. It should be much bigger than this. It should be much more vigorous. But yeah, I have yet to encounter any person saying, this one is a weed. I need to repot it every year because it has tons of roots. No, there isn't one of you guys saying that, and that means it's a finicky hybrid. So it's up to you if you want to purchase it, if you think it's worth it. Just so you know, it might not perform as you expect. Next up, an oldie but goldie, Cattleya Tropical Pointer Cheetah. Now this orchid actually had 2 more flowers. It had 5 flowers, but 2 of them were a little bit distorted because of some mealybugs. I recently got rid of ants, and I have to tell you guys, it just appeared like in supermarkets. We finally have that thing, that little gel that you put and they take to the nest and they're done. I'm not sure if it's the same substance as in the US, because in the US you have borax. In the EU, borax is banned since 2016 or something, or earlier. But this year, finally, something similar to what you guys have appeared. And when I tell you, it does its job, I mean it. So I'm winning the fight with ants and also with mealybugs, because ants were carrying the mealybugs everywhere. But we had a few casualties. A few of the flowers of this orchid got really destroyed and eaten up by the mealybugs, so I just snapped them, I just removed them. They also had a lot of mealybugs like trapped in the column, very hard to take out from there. I just didn't want to put alcohol on the flowers. So that's why it has 3 flowers. Long story short, this orchid is absolutely fantastic. This orchid actually smells good. It has a pretty faint to moderate fragrance, but it smells floral and a bit like lilies. And just look at that color. She is, I would say, a staple in many collections, because she is vigorous. She can produce a lot of flowers on a cluster. And as a side note, I'm personally looking out for the orange variety. There is one called the Galaxy variety, which instead of pink has orange. I had it many years ago and I lost it, I think, when I moved here. I'm looking for that because it's just as nice, if not nicer. Anyway, Tropical Pointer is again what I would call a staple in many Cattleya collections, and I think she's absolutely worth it. Medium-sized Cattleya as well. She's not gonna take over your life, and she just looks so pretty and spotted and nice. And lastly, the Brassocattleya Morning Glory. Now, this again is an older orchid. I received it many years ago, but I managed to set it back many of the times. It takes a gazillion years for it to bounce back, because the party trick of this orchid is it has the Cattleya purpurata in its parentage. It's a cross between the nodosa and the purpurata. Now, the Cattleya purpurata only grows 1 pseudobulb per year per lead, which means when you set it back, you gotta wait a few years. And wouldn't you know it, this hybrid inherited some of these quote-unquote bad traits from the purpurata. Not so much from the nodosa, which is a fast grower, and for a Brassavola, I would say it's one of the most iconic Brassavola used in hybridization. It passed nothing from its vigorousness to this orchid. So I have to be very careful how I treat it. I didn't do a very good job. I broke the pseudobulb this year on this one, but it's still hanging on. The flowers did not fade. It's great. Fragrance-wise, she's not very fragrant. Again, she inherited, this particular one, she inherited the purpurata, which smells during the daytime and it's not very fragrant. In the nighttime, this particular one doesn't smell for me. Maybe other morning glories do smell. There are quite a few varieties of this orchid, so do let me know in a comment below if yours smells nice. It is a nice orchid. The flowers are a decent size, but if I were to purchase it again, I don't know if I would purchase it. I think there are other Brassavola hybrids which look very similar to this one, which are a little bit more vigorous or have a faster growth. Nonetheless, I really do like it. I appreciate it because it is different, obviously, and the flowers in good conditions can be quite huge, can be beautiful. But this particular one, you know, it's just a little bit more finicky, and I would not recommend it to beginners. If you're looking for something that is fast growing, you know, stick to the other Brassavola hybrids, mainly the Golden Peacock, and you should be just fine with that one. This one is absolutely gorgeous, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to beginners. Anyway, that is about it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this month's episode. Which one was your favorite? Let me know, because I might do things with the favorite orchids, like put them on mugs or something. So let me know in a comment which one of these you liked, or maybe which one of these you have and what experience you had with it. And, you know, just let me know whatever thoughts you have on these orchids that you'd like to share with others and with myself. And with that said, thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day, and stay tuned. Who knows where we're gonna be a month from now, in August. We could still be here, hopefully not, but most likely we will be in a different location, and I'm really looking forward to that. Anyway, until next time, I will see you, I guess, in a few days with a different video. So have a great day. I'll see you next time. Bye.